one thing that stood out to me is this idea, and maybe we could start with this. What's the difference between, you hear these terms, diversity and inclusion, and this is supposed to be the framework where we're supposed to launch, through which we're supposed to launch a lot of these programs. People tend to think, as you've mentioned in some of your talk, it's sort of a corporate responsibility thing. But what's the difference between diversity and inclusion and this idea of belonging? And why is that such a key difference?
First of all, thank you for spending time with us today. Most of us have heard and accept the statement that diverse teams produce incredible results. We know that diverse teams will produce better results every single time. I think that the idea or the concept of belonging is really, for me, for the neurodiversity community, where you don't have to mask or camouflage who you are. And we realize, as Anthony and I work in the innovation space all the time, we realize core ingredient for innovation is creativity. How do you unlock creativity is when you can bring your whole self to work. And that sense of I belong here, just like everybody else does. I am accepted for who I am. For us, Paul, that transcends diversity, inclusion. It really gets to the value component of these multi-dimensional diverse teams. And the only way you unlock the power of these teams is by everybody having that real amazing sense that I belong here.
87% of neurodiverse people with autism out there who are able to work are unemployed, don't have jobs. What do you think of how much did that factor in, that idea of that massive untapped workforce? How much did that factor in to starting this program?
Every single organization is going after the same talent pool, going after what they believe to be those individuals coming out of university with the degrees, with some proven track record. And clearly that is a model of scarcity. And what we flipped it on its head, Paul, years ago was we think there's a model of abundance here. We think the abundance is this untapped talent pool that matches the needs not only of today's corporate world, but really of tomorrow's as well. So for us, hiring the individual that was homeless, that was driving an Uber or delivering a pizza or working as a janitor, those jobs are honorable, hardworking jobs to have. But when your ability and your ambition is much greater than that, then why shouldn't you have the same opportunity as everybody else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent point. Anthony, peut-être qu'on peut parler un peu en français. Sur ce point-là, quels sont les chiffres au Canada en ce qui concerne le main-d'œuvre neurodiversifié de ce pays? Est-ce que c'est similaire que les États-Unis?
Oui, c'est un peu similaire. Les estimés qu'on a vus à partir de plusieurs recherches, c'est qu'il y a présentement environ 350 000 adultes autistiques en âge de travailler au Canada. Donc, il y a quand même un bon nombre de ça. Si on regarde en termes d'un éventail de conditions neurologiques plus variées, qui inclut le syndrome de Tourette, la dyslexie, l'anxiété sociale, des troubles d'apprentissage, le chiffre est à 5 millions. Donc, un Canadien sur 7 a cette condition-là. Et il y a seulement 33 des Canadiens, en 2017, basé sur une recherche, il y a 33 de ces Canadiens-là autistiques qui ont un emploi. Un emploi dans une catégorie dans laquelle ils ont étudié, où ils sont qualifiés, tout ça. C'est quand même une bonne augmentation de 2012, qui est environ 14 Donc, le 86 que vous avez, ou le 80 était basé sur l'étude en 2012. Donc, on a quand même avancé assez bien le dossier, mais c'est évidemment pas assez.
Aside from the isn't it nice factors related to this program, what over the last 4 years, what has changed practically for Ernst & Young by taking on a neurodiverse workforce?
Yeah, so funny that you asked this question, Paul, because we think about it as exponential value, okay? What has changed for us is on multiple fronts. One is our ability to build, imagine, create creative solutions faster and better is a market differentiator for EY. So we have now figured out how to scale and sustain and integrate this workforce. And that last piece, Paul, is really interesting. Our neurodiverse centers of excellence do not sit in a bubble. They are integrated across all of EY, and they deliver directly to our clients. And so for us, not only have we increased our ability and power to be thought leaders and market leaders to our clients, we've galvanized our own workforce. We think about the workforce that is excited for a company that says we don't just say we're going to build a better working world, we actually will build a better working world.
Anthony, comment cette idée qui consiste à stimuler l'innovation par la neurodiversité, comment est-ce que ça s'applique spécifiquement au marché du travail canadien?
De la même façon que ça s'applique un peu partout. Il n'y a pas de dynamique ou de dimension qui sont très spécifiques au niveau canadien. C'est vraiment nos besoins d'innovation, l'expérience qu'on a besoin en termes de technologie, l'analyse numérique. C'est très similaire de ce qu'on voit. Et comme Hiren l'a dit plus tôt, on est dans une guerre de talents. Et c'est là que c'est très, très important pour des organisations comme EY ou chez nos clients, excusez-moi, de vraiment regarder pour des sources alternatives de talents pour vraiment nous aider à combler le gap. Le fait que nos cerveaux sont programmés différemment est un fait mondial. Donc, le même talent qui existe aux États-Unis, en Europe, au Canada est le même et nous devons absolument regarder ce genre d'alternative pour nous, pour le faire. En plus de la technologie, du data analytics, on regarde les secteurs de finance où il y a énormément d'analyse qui est fait. Il y a beaucoup d'activités qui sont faites au niveau de la finance ou même dans des secteurs comme le commerce de détail, l'hôtellerie, comme par exemple Loblaws et Tim Hortons sont des parties prenantes à ce programme-là. Ils ont énormément d'employés qui sont neurodiverses, qu'ils emploient dans leurs organisations. Donc, l'environnement au Canada est vraiment très similaire à ce qu'on voit ailleurs. Et oui, pour nous, c'est notre avantage concurrentiel qu'on voit pour EY de vraiment avoir accès à ce talent et de l'utiliser pour vraiment continuer à promouvoir la valeur qu'on donne à nos clients.
4 years ago, we all have our perceptions when it comes to autism, to people on the spectrum, what their talents might be, what their barriers might be. Over the last 4 years, how has your perception changed when it comes, now that you've had sort of direct experience with these people working for you, these people on the spectrum, neurodiverse individuals? Has your perception changed at all in what you initially thought you'd get and what you are getting now?
I think my perception has changed more about myself than about this great talent population. And this is part of the barrier that we see is neurotypicals, right? Those that don't have any connection or interaction with the neurodivergent community don't know how to act. We're not sure. Should we make eye contact? Should we shake hands? Should we ask certain questions? What if an individual is quiet? Does that mean they don't want to speak to us? And Paul, the biggest change was, frankly, getting over ourselves and saying, it is not about us. This is not about neurotypicals. This is all about meeting an individual, whether they're neurodivergent or they are of a different diversity, meeting them where they are and not having the apprehension of not knowing how to act. Because we found neurodivergent individuals like you to be very direct and straight. And the more clear you are, the easier it is for them. But I think it's also the part of not conforming individuals and expecting them to act like us. And so I think relaxing those traditional organizational norms has benefited us tremendously. And that's where we are learning from our neurodiverse centers of excellence and now expanding that even greater across our entire organization and our clients and our communities.
Mm-hmm. You talk about how neurotypical people need to approach it. I think it's a great point in addressing sort of a lot of people just don't know how to react and aren't sure and want to know. And I guess that ties into you made a point in the past about this deficit of trust that neurodivergent candidates must overcome in order to sort of integrate well. Explain that idea of a deficit of trust.
Yeah, Paul, we've really flipped it around to say, how do we as an organization build that bridge of trust? How do we close this gap that would provide a very important aspect of psychological safety? Because we know if a person feels psychologically safe to be themselves, they will be their most creative self. And creativity is, going back, the key ingredient to innovation. And so we realized at the end of the day that many of these neurodivergent individuals, their life experiences, unfortunately, has caused them to be more inward, more closed, and not to open up. This is where they have to mask or camouflage, and that causes lots of anxiety and stress. And so we wanted to flip it around on its head and say, what if we created and built that environment that proved to these individuals, and we earned their trust over a period of time, that they can really be themselves? That's really what we want at the end of the day. The theory that has now proven itself is building that psychological safety, earning that trust, erasing the deficit literally does unlock innovation capacity. And frankly, we can take that learning from the neurodivergent community and we can apply it many other places. But we realize if we don't earn the trust, we never get the benefits of unlocking an individual's creativity.
The new processes to interview people, a lot of them have been forged by neurodivergent candidates, right? And you're receiving input from them. So just to clarify, do you have one sort of process for people with autism, one process for people with ADHD? How does it work exactly?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Luckily, we've created one process for, frankly, all neurodiverse communities. So we're cutting across dyslexia, autism, Asperger's, ADHD, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, and we're realizing the saying that we've heard in the autism community, which is if you've met one person on the spectrum, you've only met one person. We've realized that each individual requires this unique coaching and skill and involvement in the process. And in that regard, one of the things that we are probably most proud of is we've involved our neurodiverse employees in the creation and the build of this whole assessment process. And in fact, it is their voice that helps us and guides us through the process. Many of them are very directly involved in it. But they've said nothing for us without us, and we take that very literally. Involving and having the neurodivergent voice prominent in what we do and how we do it is a very critical factor for success.
Il semble que le Canada est en train de rattraper son retard en matière neurodiversité. Est-ce que ça, c'est la réalité?
Oui, non, je pense que depuis la dernière année ou les derniers 18 mois, je pense qu'on voit beaucoup d'initiatives qui font en sorte qu'on rattrape l'écart, si vous voulez. Je pense qu'on a une opportunité énorme en termes de devenir un chef de file mondial dans le développement de ce groupe de talents-là. Mais on a encore besoin beaucoup d'aide et de programmes, soit au niveau fédéral ou au niveau provincial ou même dans le domaine privé, pour vraiment subvenir aux besoins de cette initiative-là. Donc, malgré qu'on le rattrape parce qu'il y a des organismes comme EY ou d'autres que vous avez mentionnés qui ont des programmes stratégiques pour le faire, je pense qu'il y a quand même un besoin d'avoir des programmes plus structurels, plus fondamentaux au niveau du pays pour aider à faire ça. Puis c'est simple parce que en le faisant, être en mesure de donner vraiment une opportunité concurrentielle et exclusive pour les gens pour travailler, ça l'aide l'économie, right? On crée de l'emploi, on crée des opportunités pour les gens, pour les individus, on crée des opportunités même pour les petites et les moyennes entreprises pour avoir du talent, qui est un gros challenge aujourd'hui pour toutes les entreprises, pas seulement les grandes, mais aussi les petites. Donc, je pense qu'en créant cet environnement-là, en créant les programmes qui sont requis, on voit qu'on est vraiment en train de driver quelque chose qui est très bon dans le marché.
What message, maybe finally, do you have to candidates, sort of neurodiverse individuals entering the workforce, perhaps very scared to enter the workforce, maybe parents out there? What message would you have to them at this point in time?
Yeah, for the neurodiverse candidates, a couple of messages. One, there are amazing organizations that are partnering with government and NGO across business, across academia, who really care about your progression and your involvement in community. And that's the first thing that I think anybody should know is there is a broadening movement around recognition and awareness and action for your success and involvement in the workforce and in community at large. And the second thing that I would say is be patient with us. We're still learning. Even on the EY journey, I think we're still learning what to do and how to do it. And frankly, we wish we had all the answers, but I think this is going to be a collaborative effort, and we need the neurodiverse community to help us in that process. Even when you see and hear things that may not make sense originally, we're trying to merge, I think, very deliberately and consciously, the need on the employment side and the great talent that's out there.
Well, thank you so much for being willing to learn and of course leading the way in this respect. And thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me today about it. Merci beaucoup, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks, sir.
Bye.